Hi, my name is Nguyen, and for my informative speech, I wanted to discuss the lack of formal education in America. So, sex education is just not about abstinence and how to use condoms. Sex education is learning about healthy relationships, sexual behaviors, sexual health, and human development, such as puberty, gender identity, and other topics. So, it's no lie that the American system is pretty wonky, and sex is actually becoming less of a taboo topic in our growing generation. And with this constant evolution of our youth, I believe it's important to keep up with it and update the standards of sex education. And if you really think about it, the sex education is based on the decision of parents who are trying to protect their children from the exposure of being a sexual being. So factual information is actually hidden by their morals of parents and educators, which are causing students to be uneducated of their own beings and their emotional and sexual feelings. Due to this, our developing minds will question and inevitably learn false information. So would you rather have an educator teach your child or some random article on the internet, which is probably most likely to be biased? So for my supporting facts, I used Planned Parenthood, an article from the nursing department of University of Southern California, and a sex education class I'm actually currently attending, taught by Ivy Chen. So for my first main point, sex education is important, and not a lot of schools are providing formal sex education classes. According to the nursing school of University of Southern California, only 13 out of the 50 states actually require medically accurate sex ed, which leaves 37 states filled with millions of developing minds per state they're left to handle inaccurate information on their own, and this would cause a lot of confusion and questionings, especially those who are of the LGBTQ community, who struggle even more since they probably feel out of place, since I feel the sex education don't really include other than straight, cisgendered females and males. It also helps to increase their knowledge of our growing youth and what is to be expected during this important period of their life where their bodies and their minds are changing. And also, according to Planned Parenthood, lack of sex education might actually lead to increased chances of pregnancy, STDs, confusions of like a toxic relationship, and etc. For my second main point, the standards of sex education is very outdated. Sex education in most schools teach students to practice abstinence, and even when only taught abstinence, it's ineffective at delaying sexual initiation. Since sex isn't much of a taboo topic in this generation, therefore the standard of sex education should teach students how to practice safe sex and learn about the options of contraceptives. Planned Parenthood also points out that sex education is the largest takeaway from schools, since it's something that is practiced by millions every day. It is also more likely to build a community of educators, parents, and youth-friendly services. Sex education helps adolescents understand by focusing on emotional, psychosocial, and economic impacts of what happens when youth and adolescents engage in sexual intercourse and sexual practices. And that quote was actually quoted by Dr. Teresa Granger from USC. And this can't happen when sex education is only being taught abstinence. And for my third main point, not many people are actually informed of the overall umbrella of topics that relate to sexual education. After being in my sex education class taught by Ivy Chen, she highlights topics such as gender identity, healthy relationships, sexual behaviors, and sexual health, which in my personal experience, I was never really taught until I attended her class. So that just says a lot about the American school system and how uninformed we all are. And I'm sure if I feel that way, I'm sure millions of others do. With this, I learned about the types of identities that people identify with, the recognition of differences between healthy and toxic relationships, and health systems that are open to get us tested, free contraceptives, and etc. And with this, since there are so many things happening with this generation, we need to keep up with these times and educate the next generation of these things. Overall, sexual education is an important topic that needs to be taught at schools across the United States. Generations are evolving, and there are so many new terms that need to be taught and understood by this growing society. Sex shouldn't be a taboo topic anymore, and it should instead be normalized. And it's not weird to learn about the topic of sex.